Hi guys, it's Marnie and today I want to talk about some of my favourite romance books. I mentioned in my booktube movie tag that I've been in a massive romance reading slump at the minute, and it's true. For like nearly a year all I've been able to read are romance books, and it drove me a bit mad, not gonna lie. I tried to read so many different fantasy books but I just generally couldn't get into them. It was doing my head in. I did recently just finish Akatar, so hopefully it's got me out of it. I'm really excited to read some more fantasy books, but all I can think about at the minute is my romance books, so I'm gonna talk about them and give you guys hopefully some really good recommendations that you'll like. Lovely like Laura, a booktuber on here who's amazing. I found her about a year ago and just everything she recommended I just ended up reading. Like, she's amazing, guys. Go check out her channel, I'll link it down below. The first book I'm going to talk about is Beautiful Disaster by Jamie Maguire. Now, I read this book so long ago, years and years ago. It was the first ever romance book I ever read and I absolutely loved it. You can tell it's so worn, it's so old. I've read it so many times. I would say this is like one of my all-time favourites. It's between this and the next one, but I think this one just beats it as it's the one that introduced me to romance in the first place. So this is more of a new adult book. It's set in a college scene, so they're a bit older, and obviously there's drinking and all that kind of stuff, so it's a little bit older, a little bit more mature. It follows Abby, this girl who is trying to escape her dark past. She's new and improved, and she doesn't drink, she doesn't swear, she wears lots and lots. Breeze! She doesn't drink, she doesn't swear, she wears lots and lots of cardigans. I don't know why that's important, but they like to emphasise that she wears a lot of cardigans. So she's a good girl, obviously. So she's just gone off to college with her best friend America, and she's really excited to get away from her past, from her family, and then she meets the campus's walking one night stand, Travis Maddox, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I love Travis Maddox. Like, he is he's like my #1 book boyfriend, I'm not gonna lie. I love him so much. So he's your typical bad boy, he's covered in tattoos and he sleeps with anything that walks. He makes his money by fighting in underground fight clubs, and Abby is not interested in Travis at all. He is completely amused by her resistance to his charms, and he ends up tricking her into being in his daily life by coming up with a bet. And if he loses, he has to go absent for a month, and if she loses, she has to live with him in his apartment for the same amount of time. And guys, honestly, I know it's so cliche, it's a college romance and there's a bet, but trust me, if you're interested in any new adult, any college or university romance, trust me, it's so worth it. You'll love it. The second book that is right up there with one of my favourites is The Edge of Never by J.K. Redemersky. I'm pretty sure that's how I say it anyway, so if I'm butchering it, sorry. But this is again one of my all-time favourites. Years and years ago I actually found it at a book swap in a pub, and I was there with my dad. I read the blurb and I thought that sounds quite cool, so I just took it. I mean, you're allowed to, I didn't seal it, but I just took it and it sat on my shelf for probably years, honestly, until I finally picked it up, and I kind of kicked myself because I fell in love with this book. I know it's a bit of controversy, some people love it, some people hate it, but I'm definitely the former. This book follows a girl called Cameron, and she's always wanted a life a little less ordinary. So one day something happens and she decides she's just gonna up and leave. She packs a bag in the middle of the night with her minimal bare necessities, and she goes to a bus station and gets on a random bus out of town. On that bus she meets Andrew Parrish, and Andrew, again, he's up there with my book boyfriends, right next to Travis, but he's amazing, and this book is just amazing. They end up getting on the bus together. Obviously there's a romance there. I don't want to say too much to spoil it for you guys, but they do end up going like on a kind of a road trip all around America, and it's just a really amazing, heartwarming book. Definitely pick it up. The third one is Stepbrother Dearest by Penelope Ward. Now this book again quickly became one of my all-time favourites. I read it this year actually, not too long ago. It's a taboo romance, you know, stepbrother, and I know that might put some people off, but trust me, it's not like that. Honestly, it's really amazing. So this book follows a girl called Greta who is living with her mum and her mum's husband, and then one summer her mum's husband's son Ellis comes into town to stay with them. His mum's gone away for the summer and he needs a place to stay, so he's come to stay with his dad. And throughout the whole summer they don't get on, they fight, they argue, she absolutely hates him. Obviously we all know that's not how it goes. So anyway, stuff happens, all that kind of stuff, and then, which actually threw me a bit of a curveball, is in the middle of the book it all of a sudden jumps 7 years. So in that 7-year gap they hadn't seen each other for the whole of the 7 years, and then something happens and they're brought back together. It just really picks off from there. Honestly, I loved it. I loved the beginning, but the second half of the book I really enjoyed. It's really fun if you like that trope. I know some people are put off by it, but if you do like that trope, this is definitely a good book for you. Question number stuck in the booktube newbie tag. Another book that is up there with my all-time favourites is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. Now, I do not want to tell you hardly anything about this. All I knew going into it is this girl called Sydney. She's living in an apartment complex with her boyfriend and her best friend, and one day she walks in on her boyfriend and her best friend, you know, having sex as you do, and she leaves. As she's leaving, she doesn't have anywhere to go, so she ends up going and staying with a boy called Ridge who also lives in the same apartment complex. Now that is literally all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to give anything away because that is all I knew going into it, and trust me, if even that appeals to you, do it. Another book I really enjoyed is Easy by Tamara Webber. Now I am going to put a bit of a disclaimer in front of this book because there's a few trigger warnings that people might not enjoy. So if you're one of them people, maybe not read this book. But this book follows a girl called Jacqueline who she's out at a college party one night and she is taken by a man and there is an attempted rape. Lucas sweeps in and he is her knight in shining armour and he saves her. Lucas has had a little bit of a crush on Jacqueline. He's been watching her from afar but never really interacted until one night when he does come across her being assaulted, and it's the perfect time for him to swoop in and save her and finally talk to her. And that's all I really want to tell you about this book as well, because it is really good and I don't really want to give too much away. Another book I read this year recently is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This book has a trope that we have seen around, so if you like Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett, I would definitely recommend you read this. So it follows a girl called Ryan and a boy called Misha. When they were younger, in grade school, they lived like 2 or 3 towns apart and their teachers set them up as pen pals. Now, Ryan being like a unisex name and Misha being a boy's name, they just assume they're both boys. They write each other for the year, and then when the year's up they just never stop. Also never meet. They decide that they don't want to jeopardise like what they have, so they don't look each other up on any social media, they don't get in contact with each other than the letters, and it's just a really cute friendship. Now one day something happens to Misha and it's not his fault and it has nothing to do with her, but he ends up transferring to Ryan's school. And when he arrives, he finds that Ryan is nothing like how she portrays herself in her letters. She is the mean, popular girl, a bit of a bully, and he absolutely can't stand her. He's completely confused and torn because on the one hand there's his best friend Ryan who he's been writing to for like 7 years, and then there's this Ryan that he's just met who is a bitch, and he doesn't tell her who he is. He's obviously got a fake name because of what's going on, can't tell her who he is, and it's just lots of stuff happens. And if that's the kind of trope you like, definitely read this book. I did give it a 5-star rating on Goodreads. If you'd like to go check out my Goodreads, the link will be in the description. Another book I want to recommend is Breathe by Abby Glines. Now this is the first book in the Seabreeze series. Abby Glines is one of my favourite authors. The Seabreeze series is one of my favourites by Abby Glines. It's a companion series, which means each book follows a different couple, but they're all within a friendship group or all within a town, and they all know each other, so all the books intertwine. A girl called Sadie, and it's summer and her mum is heavily pregnant and can't go to work, so instead of Sadie getting a summer job, she ends up filling in for her mother. Now her mother's job is a caterer at a big fancy house that the person who owns the house is Jack Stone is a teen rock star and heartthrob, obviously. So consumed with her mother and everything that's going on, she's not really had time to be a teenage girl and sworn over rock stars and stuff. So she completely isn't fazed by him. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. It's a really good book. Another book I'm going to talk about is Firsts by Laurie Elizabeth Flynn. It's very sex driven, if you want to say. It's about this 17-year-old girl called Mercedes, and she has a bit of an open door policy when it comes to her bedroom. She likes to teach boys all about sex. One condition is they have to be virgins. So she sleeps with people's boyfriends. I know, but it's good, I promise. Basically offers services to boys in relationships who are virgins. She sleeps with them and teaches them how to give their girlfriends the best first time of their lives, something that she never got. She's able to keep this a secret as her mum is hardly ever there. No one knows about this, and then obviously it does come out and she has to try and live with it and salvage her reputation. And there is a romance, obviously this is a romance book, but that's all I'm going to say, and you should definitely pick it up. It's very good. Final book I'm going to talk about in this video is called Stuck Up Sue by V. Keelan. Now this book is a little bit older. It is more new adult, maybe edging on to adult. It follows a girl called Soraya. So she takes the train to work every single day, and then one day this really handsome man appears on the train. He's all business. You can tell he's rich by his smart suit and his shoes and his watch and just the way he carries himself. He's very arrogant and very, very sexy. So watching this man the whole train ride. Last day he actually takes the train, he ends up dropping his phone. So she obviously picks it up. So she decides not to give it back to him straight away. She ends up keeping it for a few days and looking through it and trying to figure out who he is. But the phone doesn't really give much away. She does find out who he is, and when she finally goes to return his phone, it's a bit eventful. I'm just going to say that and nothing else. But it's definitely worth a read. And yeah, they're 10 of my favourite romance books. If you want to hear more romance recommendations, leave a comment and I will make some more. But they're definitely all worth reading. That's going to be about it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you pick up some of these books. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!